What's going on? What's going on, everyone who's listening to this podcast right now? Welcome to the Nikhil Sai Show, which is hosted by me, the Nikhil Sai. And guess what's going on today? Today, we are back with another amazing two Karma Club winner. This is one of the craziest story you'll ever imagine. He's an Australian entrepreneur now started to do business in Tokyo from 1998, which is freaking amazing. He's been a consultant coach for over 10,000 people, helping them to do organic LinkedIn and scale their business amazingly. And the best part is, he has been consulting higher level enterprise level companies like Amazon, Apple, Red Bull, Google, PayPal, Starbucks, Virgin, and Walmart, which is freaking amazing. So he had built multiple successful seven-figure companies and partnered with multiple seven-figure companies which are in the stock market as well. So let's not waste any time. And I actually welcome Tyron Giuliani, who's the founder at Selling Made Social. Hey, Tyron.
G'day, mate. Good to be on. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely, Tyron. We are excited to have you. Thank you so much for hopping on time today. Tyron, this is a crazy journey. Started in Australia to actually building multiple seven-figure companies in Japan and covering all of the like became one of the topmost expert in the Asian continent, which is freaking amazing. And you're also, by the way, a Forbes official coach council member, which is freaking amazing. So, Tyron, would you like to tell us your backstory? Like, how did all of this crazy journey started?
Right. So yeah, originally from Australia. Maybe the accent gives it away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I actually was in a very different line of work. So I was an army officer, and I got injured, unfortunately, and after lots of surgery on both my legs, my career was kind of over after a short time in the army. And in 1998. Um, I decided I needed to make a change, but, being from the army and being, after graduating 4 years of officer training school, I wanted a challenge, and I decided to leave Australia and just try somewhere else. And originally I was going to go to the UK, but I thought on the way I'll stop in Japan. And, I knew nobody here. I had no friends, no family. I didn't speak any Japanese whatsoever. And decided well, that's challenging. Let's do it. So I was 23 years of age, and landed in Tokyo, and very quickly realized the potential that was here. Coming from
Mm-hmm.
Australia, and certainly where I lived was a small kind of seaside community, and here I was in a city that had the population of the entire country of Australia, well, more than 30% more of the entire population of Australia in one city, in Tokyo. And I just thought, man, there's opportunity here. There's so much money compared to where I'd come from. And I just thought, how can I use the things that make me different and maybe be seen as a weakness, i.e. I knew nobody and had no language and didn't have a support network. How could I use these things and make them into into opportunities? And the first thing I did was actually I formed a wedding services business. That was my first kind of real business in Japan, and that has grown. And in the end, we're pre-COVID, we were servicing 420 weddings a month here in Japan. So we're the number one ranked independent boutique in the country, which is cool. At the same time, I then went into the recruitment business. I was a partner in a firm. We actually got acquired and went public on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, and started some other businesses, during that as well, and partnered with staff. But it really was probably end of 2017. We knew we were going to go public in 2018. That's when I was going to exit. And I decided that with all these other businesses, what I really wanted to do was I have a K-pop cafe. I've got other stuff, little small restaurants and stuff, but I really wanted to move some of my resources and focus online.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my business had been heavily brick and mortar businesses, offices, lots of investment, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to set up boutiques and all that. And I thought, well, I want to go online. And that's when I literally came across ClickFunnels during, how can I do this online? And, and it just kind of went from there. And so far it's worked out quite well. And it's a business what I really like about coaching, and I know coaching gets a lot of, when I started, I wasn't in the internet community. So I spoke to people who, were business people, and, they needed help. And I had the skills to be able to make things simple and explain it. And that was coaching. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, some of the stuff you see now where people, they learn one thing and then they're an expert in it. Well, this came after 20 years of building businesses, of growing businesses, of partnering in businesses. And, what I really liked in my former role as a partner in the firm was I loved the mentoring part. I loved the questions. I loved being the guy that people would come to and working out a solution. So for me, it was kind of a natural progression to then like, well, I'll sell that information. I'll sell that mentorship and knowledge, and that it just worked out. That was a really nice fit, and from this business, it's spawned 3 other businesses now. So it's not just the coaching, but now I've got investments in multiple digital assets, which are now making me passive income, which is awesome. So
Wow.
it's always about looking for those opportunities, I find. And I think when you're in that mindset of just being open to opportunities present themselves, and when you have that abundant mindset and you see an opportunity, take it. I mean, there's of course there's always problems along the road, and the journey may sound, oh, great, he just had win after win after win. But, man, there was a heap of losses in between. There was a heap of defeats. But, I've always believed as soon as I come across a problem, and people say, oh, there's no problems, there's challenges. No, there's problems. As soon as I come across a problem, though, I switch to my thinking to where is the opportunity in this? Where is it? So every time something fails or there is a problem or a challenge, I just think, where's the opportunity in this? Is it a learning opportunity? Is it an opportunity to try something else? Whatever it is. And when you frame yourself like that, that the impact of losses aren't as bad, because as entrepreneurs, that's what, really stuffs up so many people is, entrepreneurship is really about managing your energy. And it means, what you put in your brain is you're either going to be in a state of abundance or you're going to go into contraction and scarcity with what you feed your brain. And, I know it sounds woo-woo, but that's the flow of business, right? When we're in a state of abundance as an entrepreneur, and positivity and abundance, what it means is that our minds are freer to make better decisions. And when we make better decisions, we make better strategy. When we make better strategy, we take better actions. And when we take better actions, we get better results. And the same is for the opposite, right? If you are constantly just, banging on yourself, down on yourself, hanging around with negative people, hearing negative stuff, well, you go into scarcity mindset, right? And means bad decision making, bad strategy, bad action, bad results. You just got to look at your circle of friends or family. Generally, there's one person that you always meet them, they're like, oh, it happened to me again, or this went wrong again. It's like, man, they're a magnet for it. So, that's kind of been my philosophy, is just look for opportunities, the weaknesses that I have, how can they be how can I use this different, especially here in Japan, how can I use it differently to stand out and as actually a benefit? And then, once COVID came as well, I know it sounds horrible and it's been devastating for so many. And, my wedding business was hit very hard as well. But it also made, international business so much easier. I mean, all my clients, 95% of my clients online are not based here in Japan. They are all global.
Wow.
But even more so with COVID, no one cares that I'm an Aussie here in Tokyo coaching someone in the US. It just doesn't even, it's smooth now. No one even questions it, that's probably a positive spin-off. And again, looking for the benefits and opportunity in any kind of situation. So, yeah.
Wow, 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 Tyron, that's beautiful. And I think the mindset is a really important key for all success achieved. Like from being in Australia, serving the army, to actually being like No matter what, I'm gonna figure out and fly to a new city which I've never been to, where I have no friends. Still, you figure it out, built multiple figure business, which is amazing. And as you just mentioned, like post COVID, this world has become like a superconductor. Like it doesn't matter where your comfort is or which city you are in. It's just about what value it can add to other clients. I think
Absolutely.
that's beautiful, Tyron. Thank you so much for your backstory. It's so inspirational. I think a lot of people should actually get to that abundant mindset and really pay attention to what they're getting in so that they can deliver their output perfectly. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And Tyron, I love your stuff when it comes to the LinkedIn creating sales funnel. Like rather than other people who technically have that same kind of resume, like whenever you go to LinkedIn, it looks like clones, right? Like literally, I feel like, oh, is this a circus or what? Like everyone is looking same, right? But you created a different strategy, right? We would love to hear about that, Tyron. Would you like to tell us about like how to create a LinkedIn sales funnel to actually attract clients on autopilot?
For sure. So the Two Comma Club award that I got
Mm-hmm.
was related to one of my funnels, which is the LinkedIn sales funnel,
Wow.
and the difference, the approach that I take to LinkedIn is, I mean, look, there's a thousand ways to skin a cat, and you know, I don't know if that's politically correct, but there's a thousand ways to skin a cat, and on LinkedIn is the same, right? There's multiple ways to do it. So I'm not saying that my way is the best way, the only way, and that's the way it should be, but this is a way that works. And for my particular clients who are tend to be solopreneurs, small business owners, mostly their revenues are less than kind of 3 million a year. They tend to
Mm-hmm.
have kind of more time than they have money. I mean, that's just the fact. You know, some people have more time on their hands than disposable cash to do paid advertising, to do other techniques. That's just the way it is. And I understand that because I've been in that situation. So they're the kind of people that I'm coaching, are the ones that are, you know, they're solopreneurs. They've got a B2B business offering and they want to sell it to other business owners. They want to reach out and get into conversations, and they don't want to be spammy. They don't want to be salesy. They hate that feeling. Most of my clients tend to be a little bit older, like myself, a little bit grayer. And, you know, they're really, you know, they've been working for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're moving into these entrepreneurial roles, and they just haven't had that ability to establish themselves as an authority, as an expert. And then they're missing gaps in their knowledge of how to reach out to people and not sound horrible. And one of the first things I do is really look at, you know, the way that they're approaching LinkedIn, because if you're using LinkedIn to get clients, you should be using it differently than what 99% of people are doing. What I mean by that is 99% of people on LinkedIn, their profile is a resume or a CV, depends what country you're in. Now, what's a resume used for? Well, for getting a job. You're not trying to get a job, you're trying to get clients. So you've got the wrong tool for the task. So I developed a process where we reboot the profile. We change it more into like a mini landing page. And we use
Wow.
those experience sections, especially the first 5 experience sections, to talk about your key services that you're offering. And we use, you know, fonts and stuff like that to really stand out. But, you know, my clients' profiles transform more into a landing page. And those experience sections are, you know, this is our key service 1, key service 2, key service 3. Here's a case study. Here's a case study. Here's a call to action. So we kind of use it just like free media space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the foundation. So when someone lands on my client's profile, they know exactly what they do, how they do it, who they do it for, what they can expect when they work with my client. They can see some case studies. There's a call to action. It's just different. So, you know, I just see LinkedIn as a free media space, and we get to put what we, you know, put on it. And the reason we do that is, you know, you don't, when you go to some business's website, they don't have a
Mm-hmm.
resume of the owner as their website, right? No, they have
True.
a landing page. They have a, you know, they have information. So, like, really, if that doesn't convince you, you've got the wrong thing on your profile. And that's just the start. You know, we then look at techniques for outreach where we use, you know, we use the anatomy of a conversation. We don't do these horrible value vomits that people do on outreach, where you get it in your inbox where they say, hi, I'm this person. I solve this problem. I help this. Here's a download. Here's a video to watch. Book a time for a 15-minute chat. No one speaks like that in real life. No one communicates like that when you meet someone for the first time. Why do we do it on LinkedIn? Because marketers tell us, give value first. Well, it's not value
Mm-hmm.
until you know if the person actually has a problem and they want it solved. Otherwise, it's just vomit. You are literally doing a value vomit in a negative sense in their messenger. How about starting a conversation? How about actually using the way we really communicate? So I have a very particular framework that we use. And then we look at the other parts of the funnel, which are nurturing and nurturing your connection. So many people just collect people on LinkedIn. They just put them on a shelf. And their LinkedIn becomes like a museum piece, right? And just gathers dust. And what growth hackers teach, and nothing's wrong with this, this is their style, is they just strip everyone's contact details, put it in some email campaign, right? Active Campaign, MailChimp, whatever, and blast out 1,000 emails. Now, what's the average open rate of emails? 17%, 17 to 21%, right? That's open rates in the world on average.
Mm-hmm.
So that means 80% are never even being seen, right? However, if you do the same nurturing techniques inside LinkedIn, when you've gone to LinkedIn and you see that red dot above messaging, have you ever ignored it? No. It's like catnip. You just open it.
Yeah.
You can get almost 100% open rates on LinkedIn when you do nurturing and you do mail campaigns inside LinkedIn properly. And there's ways to do that. And that's what I coach. Like, why get 18% open rates when I can get 100% open rates? It's just nuts. And I can keep people in the platform. So then they can go and see my oh, who's this guy again? They see a landing page. Wow, that's interesting. They message me. I then use my message techniques that we use. And they're like, every touch point is this unique experience that they haven't had with anyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's the key. Then having your content and your engagement strategies, tying them together, so important. And then putting it all together in a workflow process. And that's where a lot of people fail, is they go into LinkedIn and they flounder. They don't know what to do next, or they do a bit of this and they do a bit of that, and they do a bit of this, and they get off after an hour and all they've done is read an article about Steve Jobs wearing turtleneck sweaters and why he did that every day. It's like, well, that was a waste of an hour. So, we teach, focus on workflow process. So every time you're on LinkedIn, you have an exact path to follow. And overall, how I see it is the way to generate you as an authority on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
get into daily conversations with people, is to see it as a funnel. And what it means is there's different components of the funnel. It's just not one thing. A lot of video marketers now, they come on board and all they do is video, and they just teach about, oh, don't reach out to people that spam you, just do a video. Well, that works for some. The problem is it's unpredictable. There is no scalability with it. And you totally, you're just, it's a hope strategy, right? You're just hoping people, but it should be one part of your complete strategy. And that's what I look at. Each part of the funnel has a function and has a purpose. And you should be, and like any kind of pipe, if there's a hole in any part, the whole pipe's useless, right? So rather than focusing on one part, we look at each part and we try to do the right tactics, and it all feeds into the next part. And, the strategy is, as a whole, it's doing all these little things correctly produces a result, and it's scalable, right? And you can self-diagnose. Like, you can, if something changes and you're not getting any conversations happening and no one's coming to you, you can look at the funnel and say, okay, did I change my profile? Is something wrong with the front of the top of funnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, you change that. Okay, how about my outreach? Am I doing A, B, C, and D? Yeah. All right, now how about my nurturing? Have I stopped doing that? Yeah, I stopped doing that part. And I stopped doing the second part of the engagement. Fix that, funnel's fixed, right?
Boom.
Rather than throwing out the whole system as well. And I think any good sales process, any good funnel, you should be able to diagnose and fix it when things, because, sometimes as humans, even if you have a process that you follow, you just sometimes stop doing it. Like, for example, my father-in-law is an avid golfer, and he's quite a wealthy guy, and he had a driver for many, many years. And every day, like almost 3-4 times a week, they will drive out of Tokyo and go to this golf club up in the northern Tokyo area. Every day, same route, every day. Then suddenly the driver will just do a left turn. And then be like, why are you doing that? And I was, I don't know. It just happens, right? And it's the same thing. Even though we do something over and over again, sometimes, for some reason, we stop doing a piece of it. and everything just crumbles from that. And then if we don't have a funnel, if we don't have a process of diagnosis, um, then we just like, oh, it stopped working. We throw out the whole thing. So, I think it's important for me and for my clients is that we approach it like that. So then we can fix things and we fix the right thing. We don't just like, stop working now. There's always a reason. And it generally, when you're able to diagnose each part of your funnel, you can pinpoint it really quick. And then you just fix that. You double down on that, fix it, back running again. So that's my approach. It's very holistic. It's not, I believe, especially after COVID as well, and I'm seeing this shift on LinkedIn, people are craving relationship. There's some countries, places like in Australia where I'm from, like Melbourne, Australia, they were in lockdown, like serious lockdown. Can't leave your house. You've got to be within 5 kilometers of your house. If you do go out to a supermarket or a doctor, for 30% of the year last year, 30% of the entire year, they were in lockdown. And there's some markets that are like that. People are craving real discussions, real relationships. And that's always been my approach. Now, you want to do it en masse and you want to get it as efficient as possible. But I just found that the money has flowed so much easier, smoother and in larger quantities when I've done real relationships, real discussions. It just works. It just works.
Yeah.
I think nowadays that's what people want because they're sick of these auto drip fed 6 messages one after another that you ignore. And, people are just tired of it. And depending on who your prospect is, they're more sophisticated than they've ever been. And, so if you're trying these kind of, this is semi-personalized spam, the majority of people are sniffing that out and they're not interested. They're not interested in that anymore. That will slowly be the thing of the past until AI gets super awesome and you can, and some of it is getting that way, but it's very expensive. But, that personal touch, but doing it in a way where it is a process and you can repeat the process and you can scale it. That's what's important.
True.
Yeah. But that's my feeling. Other people still just do mass amounts of activity, just get a small percentage. That's fine. That works as well. I just prefer to do, inherently I'm kind of lazy. So I want to, the more I do, everything I do, I want to be able to leverage it. I always want to think, okay, how can this one activity get me, how can I use it 3 or 4 more times? How can I get 4x on everything I do? So, I'm looking to do the least amount of work with the biggest bang. And I just find that works best when I put in strategies to engage with, into real relationships, real discussions. And you can speed it up on LinkedIn. It doesn't take months and months and months of building. You can go from having someone cold to selling them a product, in days. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be this, 6-month burn of relationship building. There's techniques you can use to accelerate that and speed up that feeling with people on LinkedIn.
Wow.
Because you've got to remember on LinkedIn, especially the US, for every one person engaging and posting, there's 42 people that aren't, right? So 1 in 42 are actually doing anything on LinkedIn. So you have an
Massive opportunity.
Yeah, you have an opportunity still to be able to stand out in your prospect's mind very, very quickly, very effectively, and become known and liked. And then when they see your content, they see your style, trusted. And they're the 3 components that you need when you need to sell something, right? They need to know and trust you. And you can do that on LinkedIn.
Absolutely, Tyron. That was beautifully articulated. Like literally, all the business owners who are using CVs and websites and never had a proven process in your system, like literally, Tyron laid out it very clearly. That was beautiful, brother. Starting from actually understanding how a funnel, LinkedIn funnel works, to actually going through the process of testing it, diagnosing it, and just making sure that everything works. And I think that is the key part here. Whenever you're creating a system that you can track something, okay, top of the funnel isn't working, my messaging isn't working, I couldn't close on a call, so they can fix that one part and double down. That was a golden nugget, by the way. Amazingly articulated. Thank you so much, Sharon. Love it. Love it. And Tyron, as you already covered this earlier on the conversation, there are a lot of people who are spamming kind of like with that one message, like, hey, welcome, I do this. I see that you're having this XYZ problem. I can help you. Reply me back. Let's get on a call, something like that, right? So, like in a short term, like how do you think someone can actually stand out when it comes to the messaging on LinkedIn, when it comes to attracting a clients? Like, because it's so much saturated. Again, that's the market research what says. Yeah. So how do you stand out when it comes to the messaging part?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, the messaging, the reason why deals don't happen on LinkedIn is because conversations never start, right? It's right at the very beginning. If you're only getting 1 to 3% of people responding to one of
Mm-hmm.
these fed horrible messages, you're leaving 97, 99% of the market, on the table, which is just nuts. It's
True.
just nuts because yes, some of them aren't going to be ready to buy it, but you can get a heck of a lot of them to start conversations. Because unless you are having conversations and having opportunities for them and opening up opportunities for them to ask you, oh, would that work for me? Or how does that work for me? You're not going to be selling, right? It's having those daily conversations. I coach this specifically, and it's a very special process that I use
Mm-hmm.
and I develop. But what I can give away here, because clients have paid me thousands for this, what I can give away is, you've got to think of the anatomy of a conversation. How do we speak in real life when we meet someone? Now, imagine the situation. I'm here in Tokyo, Japan. If you've ever been here, if you ever go into a networking event, the Japanese worker, corporate worker, they call them salaryman, right? And I'm just going to use men as the gender here. They call them salarymen, and they all wear like black suits, white shirts. That's the
Mm-hmm.
uniform of the Japanese salaryman. So you go to a networking event here, you walk in, everyone's in a black suit, white shirt, right? It's just the way it is. Now imagine if someone is in that networking event and they're in a pink neon suit. They're standing there in a pink neon suit. You walk up to that guy. What's the first thing you would say? Like real life, you're there. Well, you'd probably ask him. You'd observe. You'd see the pink suit, and you'd ask him a question about it, right? You'd probably say, "Man, I love your suit. Where'd you get that?" Or I love that suit. Did you make that? Or hey, I love that suit. Why'd you wear that tonight? Or what made you wear that tonight? You would observe and you would ask about that, and you would start a conversation. You would rub his ego a little bit. You would make an observation about the obvious thing,
Mm-hmm.
make it about him, right? That's natural conversation. That's what we do. Think of conversation anatomy. It's answer, question, anecdote, opinion, anecdote, question, right? That's kind of the natural flow. Whenever you meet anyone the first time, you either ask a question or you make a statement. Now imagine if I used what everyone does on LinkedIn in this situation. I walk into the room, black suit, white shirt, and there's the guy in the pink neon suit. And I walk up to him and I say, oh, hi, I'm Tyron Giuliani. I'm a LinkedIn expert. And would you like to book a 15-minute chat on my calendar? And how about you watch a video? He's a 5-minute video about the top 10 things. And by the way, here's a brochure I made. Would you like this? That's what people do on LinkedIn. Can you see
Whoa.
the difference?
Gold nugget. Like this is awesome.
It's not about them. It's what people are doing on LinkedIn. It's all about them. They think they're giving, but all you're doing is saying, "I want you to watch my sales stuff. I want you to book give me your time so I can sell to you. We never start a conversation like that in real life. So what I teach is we emulate that in LinkedIn. We emulate real life. We observe. We use pattern interrupts. We find something to act as a pattern interrupt in their messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Ask an irresistible question that is going to be rubbing their ego that they can't resist but give you an answer to. The reality is the guy's wearing the pink suit because he wants people to notice him. He wants people to ask him a question.
True.
And the same thing when you look on social media, when someone puts a post on social media or someone's in an interview and they upload it onto YouTube, or someone creates a beautiful design logo, what are they doing? Do they put it up and I hope no one asks me about it, or I hope no one sees that, I hope no one questions it? No,
No.
they want it. They want it. It's a dopamine hit. Like you have the opportunity to be a bit like a drug dealer in a good sense. You're giving them that dopamine, right? And that's how you've got to start conversations on LinkedIn. LinkedIn. You've got
Wow.
to start emulating real life as close as possible. And the irresistible questions, the pattern interrupts, we have techniques for that I coach. But that, that's how you've got to come at it. And that's just the start. That's just to open the conversation. Then you can't stuff it up from there. And lots of people stuff it up from there because they stay in situational questions too long. And then the person's like, why is this person talking to me? What do they
Mm-hmm.
want? They get quiet. Or they ask complex questions. Like, nothing's worse than going into LinkedIn. It's like walking up to someone at a networking event for the first time again and say, hi, I'm Tyron Giuliani, I'm a LinkedIn guy. So what do you think about Freudian's law about ABC and the matrix gyro generator? And they're just like, oh, okay. Like,
Get out of here.
yeah, if you ask a question, these complex questions, and you think it's a smart question, or give me your opinion about the market, like, who's got time for that? To tell a stranger and talk to no one. No one has time. These questions are useless that I see some marketers teach, and they think they're smart. But what you're doing is you're forcing the person to make a choice. One, they either give a really short answer and it makes them look foolish because they're not being well-rounded and showing that they're actually smart and they know they do have an answer. Or two,
Mm-hmm.
ignore it. And they're both, which one do you go? Well, 99% of the time they go with ignore that.
Ignore option. Yeah.
That's not how we start communication. That's not the anatomy of conversation when we meet someone for the first time, right? Not only is there's a structure, but think about questions. They're usually observations, some kind of joke, some kind of short question. And it's usually short, right? And the answers are usually short. And then you get a longer question, a longer answer. And then it goes to storytelling, right? So you also have to think, how the conversation, how the structure actually looks like. We don't ask these long, detailed, complex questions when we meet someone for the first. We don't. Why do it on LinkedIn? Why do it on messaging? It's just nuts. So that's how you stand out, by not doing and not treating Messenger like an inbox, like an email inbox. Because what everyone does is structure these emails that they send. It's called Messenger, right? And on LinkedIn, it doesn't say inbox, it says messaging, right? So start with message. And that means you can set the tonality casual, which is cool because everyone's walking around in suit and tie on LinkedIn and all stuffy. But you get in the inbox, in Messenger, ties off, people are relaxed. If you start off relaxed, they come at the same level. You start off formal and stuffy, it's so hard to break it. So, you've also got to see Messenger as not an inbox, but as a true messaging service, and use the same verbiage, use the same tonality that you do in messaging. It's totally different than formal direct emailing techniques that everyone uses. Right, so they're missing out on the opportunity. So I hope people continue to do that because it allows
You have a massive leverage.
yeah, because you stand out and you get into conversation. And the final thing, just as one tip is, there's one really easy filter you can apply to your messaging when you're in LinkedIn, when you're speaking to someone for the first time in particular, and it's with what you know of them and with what your relationship is with them. Would you say it in real life if they were standing in front of you? And if the answer is no, don't type it. Simple. That will save you thousands and thousands of rejections just by that one filter. With what you know of them, right, and what your relationship with them, would you say that in real life? Like, say it out loud. And if the answer is no, don't type it, because it's going to be as corny as it sounds to you when you say it out loud.
Yeah, wow, Tyron. That was beautifully articulated. I think this can literally 10 times, 20 times, even 100 times multiply the reply rate and the way they actually have conversations on inbox, because I believe what you mentioned is absolutely on point. They should really think about, like, what if me and this XYZ client is in a room and how we can start a conversation, and it should be the same messaging. But rather they use an inbox strategy. It's a 1,000 character email. They push into this inbox saying reply me back if you're interested, which never get replies, by the way. That's awesome.
Right.
That's awesome, Tyron. So let's get to the next question, Tyron. So recently, like, after LinkedIn update, recent update, like they limited the reach to less than 100 people a week, if I'm not wrong, correct? So kind of, the number of people of connections we make decrease dramatically, right? So would you like to tell more about like how can a LinkedIn profile, or specifically when you create a LinkedIn funnel as a business, how they can get massive visibility on LinkedIn? Like what should they do? Is that sending more connections strategically or posting content? How does that look like?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, already, you know, growth hackers already got around that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Yep.
ways that you can get around the 100 limit. Um, so, for me, nothing kind of changed because I'm always about finding a group of people that I want to speak to and trying to get 80+% converting, like speaking with 80+%. I don't want to do the 3% I'm happy with. No, I want to do 80+%. So, there's a few things at the moment that with the 100 limit, they also opened up some things. So, for example, one little hack that you can do, um, if you go to LinkedIn groups, before you were limited, you can join 100 groups, but before you were limited that you could message, I think it was 15 or 16 or some odd number, but you could do 16 messages a month throughout all your groups into the messenger of anyone in the group, right? So you didn't have to be connected to them. You didn't have to do a connection request and then wait for that to be accepted and then message them. You could go in and do 16 people. Well, now that's unlimited now. They've opened that up.
Wow.
So you could probably do about 200 a day and probably not get any kind of strife from LinkedIn.
Oh my
However,
God.
however, when you go to a group, all you see is, lists of people, right? And you've got to go through it. So what you should be doing is first, and this is why I highly recommend, if you're going to use LinkedIn and you're serious about it, get Sales Navigator. It's like $80 a month or something, but it is gold. I mean, it has made me millions. This $80 a month has made me millions. So look, the way to do it is you can run a search, advanced search inside LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and you can search within a group. You can pull out the people, say you wanted a CFO who's in a Fortune 500, who does food services, is in, Eastern Seaboard of the USA, and is interested in fish, and he's in the fish group, right? You can do
Wow.
that search. You can find the name, you can save it. Then you can go back into the group, pull his name up, message him. So you don't have to just like message a random group of people. You can still, do some research, get your list of 50 or 100 exact ideal client prospects that are in a group that you have joined and you're a member of, and then you can message them. You don't even have to connect. You're right in their inbox. So there's ways to get around that. Open profiles, you can do searches and find people that are open profile. They'll accept messages without being connected as well. And then plus doing engagement activities, which gets people to use their connection request and send you a connection request, and you accept that, and it's theirs getting used. And you can do a couple hundred of them, a month easily as well. So there's always ways to get around it. Some people even go more hardcore. They just are just stripping emails and then sending a request with the email, and you can get connected as well. But you don't have to go that way. I think it's really also about managing how many leads you can manage properly. So if you don't have a back end to manage them, it's kind of useless anyway. Now, some growth hackers, they've got it down pat. But the reality is a lot of my clients, they're not tech savvy. They don't have all that. They don't want that. They want a simple system. So they can manage, 50 to 200 in a month. But if you're having conversations, every day with 3 or 4 people, it adds up. You're having 150 conversations a month with ideal client prospects. Well, that's giving you 150 opportunities to open up a conversation where they get to the point where they say, oh, well, how does that work for me? And that's what you want. You never want to just be, I have this, do you want it? The way that I coach and the way that I've always used it is I set up my conversations, as I showed you how to start it, but then we move them, and I have a technique to get them to say to me, oh, would that work for me? Or how does that work? And well, let me tell you then. Yeah. So That's my feeling on the limits. There's always ways around it. And some of the things that they took away, they've given you now the group one, which is just awesome. So
Wow, wow, wow. That's awesome. So technically now people can reach 200 people a day on groups, correct? That's
yeah, you
amazing.
can message. You can be right in their inbox.
Wow.
And with the messaging though in groups, I like to use pattern interrupts. I like to use imagery and then ask irresistible questions. You can't do that in LinkedIn in groups, and only you can do emojis and you can do text. However, what I like to do is I use Google Photos, and I will take my imagery and host it in Google Photos, send them like the Bitly link, make reference to that, ask that irresistible question. So they're still getting that pattern interrupt. It's like, it's about them. They're seeing footage, image about them. And they're like, oh, okay, this person's taken the time to do some research about me. They
Yeah.
care, right? Because remember, the likability factor is important, right? And it's a lot of people get this wrong. It's not that you're likable and affable. It's that the other person feels you like them. That's what likability means as a principle of influence.
Absolutely.
The other person feels you like them. And by you doing some research and you showing them that you've gone off LinkedIn and looked at them on YouTube, you looked at the Facebook, and then you're referencing that. And you can do it with under a minute. Once you know what you're doing and you get in the routine, it's very quick to do this. It has impact. It has massive impact, and it gets you into conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely, Taran. That was beautifully articulated. I think this simple trick can actually help people 10x their reach and their. It's amazing, Taran. And again, Taran, I know you're organic guy who's been helping Fortune 500 companies scale completely organically, but we would love to hear in a short sentence, like what do you think when it comes to organic versus ads when it comes to client acquisition in your own terms?
Sure. I mean, look, the reality is if you've got money, if you've got more money than time, and some people always say, well, time's so in its priceless. And but look, the reality is a lot of smaller business owners, they just don't have the money to run ads. They just don't. That's just it. Or they're too scared to, they don't, whatever. There's a whole host of reasons. However, if you have money and if you have a service or product that's about 12 to 15,000 and above, running ads is a no-brainer on LinkedIn. I mean, you've got to get good at it, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, it's like any mass media, right? You get more eyeballs on your product. You have more people entering your funnel. You make more money. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So, but that's not my target. I'm going for those people that they need. Hopefully they get these clients and they form a chest of money that they can then deploy and start doing other methods. But so my feeling is LinkedIn ads. This is their third permutation of ads. Like they had it before and they stuffed up and they redid it. And this is the third version. So
Mm-hmm.
they're much better than they've ever been. They're of course more expensive than Facebook and other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you do have that kind of, if the lifetime value of a client or even the first purchase value is going to be about 12, 15,000 bucks and you've got money, look at LinkedIn ads. Absolutely. If it's under that, it starts to get pretty pricey. And, even to test and stuff, you're looking at least kind of 6-7K just to test, whereas you can run a test for a couple $100 on Facebook and let me change that. So it is more pricey, and you do have to have a product or service that's just worth doing it. But yeah, if you fit that category, absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So technically, people who are doing under 3 million or something like that, they don't really need ads. They can exponentially grow just organically on LinkedIn. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Tyron, you've been doing so much stuff. You run your wedding business, averaging 420 weddings every month pre-COVID, and you are coaching, consulting Fortune 500 companies, and you got clients to help them, sell socially and stuff like that. We would love to hear, like, how do you manage your client for productivity? Like, do you use any kind of tools to do that? Like, can you please elaborate on that part?
Yeah, I think, you've, wherever you can leverage yourself with tools and automation, is critical. So like everything, I document a lot. So any process that I do, if I do it more than, once in a week, I'm filming it, I'm making an SOP and I'm handing it off. Right. So,
Wow.
and everyone can do that. You can use Loom now; it's so easy. But if you find yourself on a daily basis, if you just find yourself doing tasks repetitively, like that should be systemized and that should be handed off. That's easy. That's an easy, quick fix for so many things. So, one really good goal is to write down what you do daily and what you do weekly. Just list it out, and then your mission. Just rub them all out until all that's left are those kind of visionary stuff, are bigger pieces where I like the deal making, mate. So you can hire a business development guy. You can have a sales director as well. That part I business owner. So unless you're the majority of us maybe look and say, it's like you should be out there generating business for the business, and then you can palm it off to your operations guys, your onboarding team, your customer, whatever it is. But the more things that you can take off your plate that are repetitive and can be systemized, and if someone can do it and they like doing it. I hate doing certain tasks, so I have a policy FTO, fun things only. I just do the fun things. I just do the stuff that I like. Some of that I probably should hand off, but I like doing it, so I want to do it. But that's my approach. Is I'm always looking at, okay, putting in systems and then finding really good people who are eager and keen to do a task that I hate. Because I'm not into details. I don't like details. I don't like instructions. I read that stuff. It makes me like, I hate it. But some people love it. Some people love step by step. Find the right people for the right fit. And that's a big one is, and when you're hiring lots of people and you've got lots of people in teams, it's getting the right person, but for the right fit and the right role. Sometimes you've got the wrong person or you've got the right person, but in the wrong role, right? So, kind of observe your people and really dig deep into, where, what their strength is and double down in that area for them. But, when you're starting off, what you've got to do is you've got to be able to, look at your business, look at the different parts of your business. And as a business owner, you've got your finance and accounting, you've got your HR, you've got your operations, you've got your marketing, you've got your sales. And you've got to have each of those hats and be able to wear them. But then what you should be doing is be really aware. These are different roles and different functions, and start to, fire yourself from that role and replace it, with someone else. When you've got the revenue, you've got the capital in your safe. Okay, take yourself out of one of the other functions and replace it with a person doing the task. And when they get really good at it, and you grow, you hire. They get out of that role and they go up to manager role, and you bring in a staff under, right? And that's just the mission of growth, is constantly take yourself out of the role, find someone that can do it, and then if they're appropriate, they get promoted to the next level up, the manager, and you bring in the other person to replace them. And if you've got a library of all these trainings already, because you get them to document everything as well that they do, when someone comes on board, you just say, here's the training. Today, you're going to watch, lesson, module 1, lesson 1 through to 7. That's your job today, and it's done. And then they can always refer to it as well. Oh, how do I do that? They go to their library. So as a small business owner, that's what I've done is always think of these different functions as different jobs, and then I try to fire myself out of those roles as soon as possible, so I can just focus and have my brain kind of free of everyone talks about being in the role and all that kind of stuff. It's true. If you're just constantly doing transactional tasks, you don't have time to be open to opportunity and to make the connections and be creative, and that's what I like. I like, I have a lot of time where it's just thinking time, and it sounds kind of crazy, but to really just be still and to think and let the brain process connections. Like you met someone yesterday, and that could be good for someone that you met a week ago, and it just, the connection happens. If you're just constantly on a hamster wheel, you don't have time to make those kind of connections. Yeah,
True. I think as a business, that's really important to have these key people, A players in the team to build those connections, which is freaking awesome.
absolutely.
That's awesome, Tyron. So let's get to the next question. We would love to hear more about like your daily routine after building multiple seven-figure businesses. Do you have any strict routine for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I do the same. I have the same morning routine every day. I allowed COVID to make me get even fatter and fatter. So for the last year, I've been strict on that. And in the morning, get up, go to the gym. Lucky I'm in downtown Tokyo, so there's literally 3 gyms within a minute walk of my place. So
Wow.
I go out the door, there's a gym. I go out kitty corner, there's a gym. So yeah, in the mornings the routine. I've got 2 small kids. I had kids after I was 40 years of age, so a bit older of a dad. So my kids are 6 and 4. Um, you know, my mission is I want to get stuff done in about a 4-hour block a day, like 4 to 6 hours. And it's not the 4-hour work week, but usually 4 to 6 hours a day. That's my production time. I'm only
Wow.
productive probably for maximum 6 hours if I'm in real flow. And I know that I'm pretty good at like around 10 o'clock or 9:30 to about 11:30, and I'm good again at about 1 to 4. I'm pretty good, and that's when I work. And outside of those times, I'm with my kids. I'm having lunch. I'm going to the gym. I'm having exercise. And when I'm in those moments, I'm really focused on that. That's life for me. Work-life balance doesn't mean that I do 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of eating or rest. It means when I'm working, I'm 100% focused on work. When I'm off, I'm 100% focused on being off. And for me, that's balance. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes it's really hard to let go of that you've got to be at your desk from 8 to 10. Look, I've had years like that. I understand when you're first starting off, sometimes you've got to do that. Absolutely. And even now, we've got a launch coming. We've got something where I'm really excited. I'll work 10 hours, but it has to be something really, really special for keeping me that focused. And it doesn't happen that often. Maybe I need to get more things happening, but I like my life. So, I try to, I know when I'm focused, I know when I work best, I work in those times, and I don't beat myself up about it because
Wow.
one of my old coaches years ago used to say, the worst place to vacation is at your desk. It's the crappiest vacation spot in the world, right? It's not Club Med, it's Club Desk. And I'm like, that's so true. So if I ever find myself more than like 5 minutes, I just get out and leave. And like, that's done. I'm done because I'm not going to be productive. So yeah, learn in yourself when you're productive, because really you can get a heck of a lot done as a small business owner, even up to about 10 million a year, 4 or 5 hours a day, like of really focused work, because that 4 or 5 hours is actually worth about 9 hours of just normal, unproductive, unfocused kind of stuff about, kind of work.
Yeah, that's true, Taran. That's beautifully articulated. I think a lot of business owners just shift task from task and don't live their life to the fullest. But you really tasked it out and saw your productive times and making your work the best and having your entire time focused in different areas of life to get that prosperity. That's beautiful. Let's get to the next question, Taran. So if you would have an opportunity to go and talk to a 20-year-old yourself or someone who's just getting started, what will be your number one suggestion to them?
My number one suggestion would be take a job in sales. That's it. Take a job in sales. Work as a sales guy, whether it's door to door, but outbound sales, not inbound, taking the lead, like nice and easy, like outbound, hardcore sales. Take a role in sales. Like when I first started in recruiting, before I became a partner in the business, I was a recruiter. I was doing it. I was on the phone, smiling and dialing. There was no LinkedIn. There was none of that. Literally, my boss gave me a red book. It's called the Red Book in Tokyo. It's a phone directory of foreign capitalized companies in Japan. It said, start at M, find the brand manager of every company starting with M. I was like, how do I do that? Pick up the phone, start doing it. and learning sales and studying sales, because now there's so much out there. The psychology of sales is so interesting. And, there's this massive boom now in high ticket closes, right? There's a whole heap of agencies selling appointment setters and high ticket closes. And all they've ever done is sold a course, but they haven't gone through a complex sale before. And they haven't gone through, tough, like out there, reaching out to people cold. And like that is, as a 20-year-old, doing that for a couple of years. And I don't just mean like you do it 6 months and like, I'm an expert. No, like put yourself through the ringer in sales, whether it's SaaS sales, enterprise sales, but get into a sales gig. It teaches you so much. Find a great mentor, a great sales manager, find a great operations person to mentor, and just learn everything about sales, because you're going to learn negotiation. You're going to learn communication skills. You're going to learn so much about you, about discipline, about control, everything. I mean, sales is just awesome. And listen, the best owners, the most successful owners tend, not always, but tend to be very good communicators and salespeople. Not always, but and there's exceptions at the higher end. Everyone's always like, look at Elon Musk, look at Warren Buffett. They're not so. No, like let's get real. Like you're not going to meet them in your life, most likely, right? I mean, no. But if you find a company guy who's running a company and he's making 10, 20, 30 million, pretty much he's been a really, really good salesperson. Yeah. Yep. And so that's one skill. And so many people are afraid of it. And unfortunately, there's no course in university where it's like, get a Bachelor of Sales. Like, why not? There should be.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely a skill that can be. And, the natural sales guy, there's natural people that are more extroverted and everything like that. But, there's damn good introverts who are top sellers and top billers in many companies. And it's just because of understanding human psychology. And more than that, they really understand themselves, and they can control 100%. Their emotions and the tonality and everything about it. So that's the advice, man. If you're young, get in sales. Learn on someone else's dollar. You don't have to be an entrepreneur from day one, right? You can go work for someone, and there's so many gaps. I meet so many entrepreneurs, and they've got these massive gaps and chasms in their knowledge. And that's going to catch up to them. They might have one successful launch of a product. Now they're like, I'm the king of the world. It doesn't last, right? Because if you don't know how to negotiate product, you don't know how to sell, you can't teach others. You can't hand off a broken system to people. You can't hand off and expect them to do something at an exceptional level if you've never done it, even at a decent level. It just doesn't work.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful advice for everyone who's getting started. Even if you're a 40-year-old business person, if you don't know sales, learn it, because that's going to help you to get more control on your business. Because no matter what, you need to sell your team to get in. You need to sell your customers. You need to sell your management to do the right stuff. So selling is something like it's a life skill. You should definitely have it, just like you eat, just like you sleep. That's awesome, Tyron. That's beautiful. And Tyron, you have a couple of questions here. We would love to know more about like your life's biggest achievement so far and any next bigger goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the cliched stuff is, being married and having kids, and that's been great because I never wanted, I never thought I'd be a father. Just didn't have kind of interest in kids. Now I do. I love it. I wish I had kids earlier. All that good stuff. What I'm most proud of is that, I've hit so many challenges and obstacles, and I just, resilience. It's just, that's not going to stop me. I think, quitting is going to be a guarantee that you fail, right? But I'm just like, okay, if I'm going to quit this, there's got to be a replacement real quick. There's got to be something there. So what I've kind of liked is that I've come to a foreign place where I knew nobody, had no network, no family, no friends, nothing, no language. And I was able to start, multi-million-dollar businesses, which I don't know if I could have done that in Australia because of, my unique position. And then I've been able to do it in multiple industries and now do it online, making multiple seven figures online, not just offline. So yeah, I'm proud of that. And I think, the more you celebrate, the more you get to celebrate. And everyone be humble and stuff. I'm happy with what I've achieved. Would I like more? Of course. But comparison is the killer of joy, right? So
True.
I worked out long ago not only my what goal, but my how goal, how I want to achieve this. And it's not white knuckling, working 12 hours, hustle nation, driving the Lambo. That's not what I'm about. I want to do it so I can have more time off. I want to do it so I'm efficient and I can spend, I can take 3 days off, 4 days off a week, whenever I want, anytime. So that, it's really getting comfortable. And ego is a big one. As a young guy, very egotistical, very ego driven. It just doesn't work. It's not fun for anyone. You think it's kind of cool to be flashy and stuff, but most people are just looking at you. They don't care. So they don't care. They've forgotten about you as soon as you walk past them. You have a Lamborghini, you close the door, you walk away from it. You're just a schmuck, right? Until you're back in the car. So, ego is a big killer. I think if you can get control of your ego and just do things for yourself and do it for the people that matter, life is so much easier if you're constantly trying to one up and show up and, like the best thing, work out what kind of life you want and then put a number on it. And generally, guys, the number's way lower than you think, especially in the share economy and a rental economy. You can have experiences that multimillionaires have. You can at a fraction of the cost. Like there's just no need to. Once you can put that aside, I think it comes with a little bit of age and a little bit of wisdom. Once you can put your ego aside, life is so much easier. I don't have to prove myself. I don't care. Like, I don't, unless there's a great quote, like, unless they know you personally, then, they don't know you. So what they think about you has no effect. These people, so why worry about it? What?
True.
You can't control what other people think. So
Yeah, that anxiety. Absolutely.
yeah. And a lot of entrepreneurs, you put time pressures and deadlines on yourself, unrealistic time pressures and deadlines, because you listen to someone like Elon Musk and he's like, why spend 6 years doing it? You can do it in 6 months. So you think I've got to do it in 6 months as well. I mean, that guy's a freak. He's a freak of nature. He's a genius. He's the 0.001% of the humans on Earth. And you're comparing yourself to him and you're struggling to make $3,000 a month. I mean, just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
That's life lessons, buddy. Thank you so much for dropping amazing golden nuggets. So, Tyron, let's get into the next question. You've done so many businesses, right? Like consulting and helping a lot of businesses, right? What was the biggest mistake so far in business?
The biggest mistake was they say that of all the ships that don't sail, it's partnerships. And I believe partnerships with people it's the hardest thing to do. And I put my trust in a former client who became a partner in the business, and I overlooked a lot of the flaws. And that's fine. Sometimes, no one's perfect and we all have flaws. But I could see some very clear red flags and I kind of ignored them. The way he treated some of our clients and the way he did certain things, which just didn't sit well with me. But he was older than me, about 15 years older. He'd been working in a Fortune 500 company, billion-dollar budgets. So I was younger back then. This is probably going back to 2008 or something, so quite some time. And I knew stuff was wrong, and I didn't speak up. And there's a famous Australian general, when he was talking about harassment in the Australian Army at one stage, and he said, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. And for me, I walked past and I didn't pay attention, and therefore I accepted the stuff that he was doing. And then eventually he did it to me, right? And it went to litigation and everything like that. So one thing for me is, listen to your gut on the red flags. When you notice stuff that is off, address it instantly. don't let anything slide, especially if it's going to be in relation to how a client is dealt with, how your reputation is managed. You have to be on that instantly. Like, yeah, absolutely. So I made a big mistake, and it was out of, misjudging someone, putting them up on a pedestal, and that's a common thing for entrepreneurs. When you've got someone who seemingly is more advanced to you, you tend to put them on a pedestal, and
Mm-hmm.
when you observe them, you enhance and amplify all the goodness, and you reduce all the bad things about them. And
True.
it's a really bad balance, because no one is that good, no one is that bad. Like, same thing, if you hate someone, you amplify all the things that are negative about them. That's what you concentrate on and focus on, and you forget all the positive things, right? So it's really important to try to keep level and assess people, fairly, and not with bias. And that took a long time, because once you've got hammered and treated poorly, and you've had to litigate, and it's not fun. It's not fun. Lies that get told. It's horrible. It's expensive. I had to litigate in 2 countries across 4 states. I mean, just horrible. When you're in that, yeah. But again, it was my fault. I allowed
True.
things to slip. So
Yeah.
take responsibility for it.
I think that's a beautiful learning lesson, life lesson for every business owner. Like if they see something is going wrong, they should point the finger immediately, because that's going to be going for granted very soon if you don't point it right now. Everyone do that. Absolutely. That's amazing, Tyron. Thank you so much for amazing, beautiful lesson you mentioned here. So yeah, we have a couple of more questions here. Like your main inspiration for all the success you've achieved, and any key people involved in your journey.
My main inspiration, well, it's people talk about impact and leaving a greater legacy. Before I had kids, I just wanted to make money. Just wanted to make money, provide a great service, but I wanted to make money to allow me to travel. I've traveled to every continent on Earth. Yes, I've been to Antarctica. By 30, I've been to every continent. I travel first class. I stay in penthouses. I spend my money on experiences. So for me, it's always been about experiences. I've been to Rinka and Komodo Island, and been next to Komodo dragons. I've taken
Wow.
photos and been next to penguins in Antarctica, right? You know, I've done wild. I've been in Botswana and been in front of a lion. Like with nothing between me and the lion. I've done those kind of things because I love that. Now that I've got kids, everything I'm doing, is really to be a role model for my kids, to show what a good person should be like, and hopefully set a standard, how customers should be treated. I mean, my wife's an entrepreneur as well, so in our house, we talk about. I'm in this building. We own this building. It's a 7-story building here in Tokyo. We've got 1 to 4 of the floors are our businesses, and the other we rent out to other businesses. So when we're
Wow.
in the elevators, there's a customer. My kids know, oh, that's a customer. When we're with a customer, this is how we act. When we're at the dinner table, we're talking about customer things, and so I'm trying to pass on these lessons to my kids in a way that we're just naturally talking about it. So my legacy now is just to give good life lessons to my kids, and have them set up. I don't want to just give them stuff. They don't know this yet until they watch it one day, but they're board members of companies. They've got property, they've got trust, but they're not going to get that until in their 20s and after they've proven themselves. I mean, even my wife comes, her dad worked really hard. He was a refugee from the Korean War that came to Japan. His mum died in the refugee camp here. He worked his butt off to make money, but he never, gave her, showered gifts. It was like, you want to buy something at 16, you go get a job. He had the money. He's getting chauffeur driven, but the same kind of lessons. And my family as well. My dad's an immigrant from Italy. He moved to Australia when he was young. My
Wow.
grandfather was an olive farmer and fisherman. I mean, but it's setting my kids up now. That's a legacy. Yes, I want impact on people. Yes, I love seeing my clients win. I mean, nothing is better, because I tend to be helping clients when they're kind of at a point where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they need that guidance. They need that extra set of eyes. They need that mentorship. I love that. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But I'm also about setting myself up and my family up to have
Yep.
great experiences, and not to be coming from a place of scarcity.
Absolutely. That's an abundant mindset, Tyron. I think that's beautiful. I think this should be kind of the end goal of every business because you don't want to be on that hamster wheel forever. You want to
No.
be the person who has prosperity in life. That's beautiful. And Tyron, you're one of the most beautiful person I've ever met online. You're so amazing. You have very good mindset and you've been helping thousands of clients. And amazing guy, like entirely all the golden nuggets. Like this is kind of a business plan for all of people who are listening to this. They can literally implement this immediately and get something out of it instantly, almost like in a week, right? So where can our audience find your mentoring? How can they learn more about you?
Yeah, look, if you're interested to learn more, especially if you're a business owner, a small business owner, and you want to be utilizing LinkedIn, because if your people are there, you got to be there, and it's free, right? And everything's in your favor at the moment. There's no better reach, there's no better exposure compared to any other platform, just because of the way that people don't use it properly. So you can easily find me. I've got a Facebook group. It's called LinkedIn Sales Funnels for Entrepreneurs. Nice and easy. LinkedIn Sales Funnels for Entrepreneurs. Start the journey there. Come and join me. And, that's where we can start. It's the easiest for everyone to
Absolutely.
find.
I'll be dropping the Facebook group link in the description of this podcast so everyone can join. So make sure to join. You have so many golden nuggets and trainings inside the group for sure. So, Tyron, that was a beautifully articulated entire podcast session. I really loved it. The golden nuggets you dropped are just amazing. Any last word before we conclude the entire podcast for today?
Yeah, look, I think approaching LinkedIn, you've got to change your mindset about the outreach component and the proactiveness of being on LinkedIn. The engagement part is really important. And when you find people that are ideal prospects, every time they post, be like white on rice, be on them, be on them, be on them. And don't feel that you're that kind of stalker or it's too much. You've got to remember, people are putting social media posts out there because they want you to comment. They need you to comment, right? So give it to them. Just give it to them what they want. And it's so quick, especially on LinkedIn. Literally within 7 days, you can be a best buddy on LinkedIn with someone and have a real open, natural conversation that you can lead someone through that they don't feel spammy or sold to, and you can be making money off people, with people, selling your services. So, just get out of the mindset that it's kind of stalkerish or you're doing too much. No, people want it. People are putting posts. People are out there. They want you. Just remember that. They want your comment. They want your like more than anything. So just give it to them.
Wow, that's amazing. Again, that's like an entire role play of what exactly happened in entire podcast. That's beautifully articulated. And Tyron, thank you so much for amazing opportunity. We really enjoyed the powerful session. It was brainstorming. It was mind-boggling. It was just with so many golden nuggets. I think everyone who's listening to this, make sure to re-listen and take notes and start implementing them on your LinkedIn. Create your own LinkedIn funnel and make sure to join Tyron's group. You will definitely have good time. So hopefully, guys, everyone who listened to the podcast so far, hopefully you enjoyed the podcast session, including Tyron himself. So stay tuned for the next interview, guys. Peace out for today. This is me, the Nikhil Sai, and Tyron Giuliana here. Peace out.
See you later.
Bye bye. Glad to have you.